Good evening, students. Am I audible? Yes, could you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we are moving to the next topic, that is like acceptance. We are going to discuss about the acceptance today, because this is also one of the factor or the essential element which will cover under the essential elements of a contract. So just now, give me a second. I'll be sharing the screen so that we will discuss about what is acceptance and its definition, and what are the essential elements that are required for accepting, or what are the essential elements that are required for acceptance. No, my video is also on, ma. I think you can see me. Yes, I'll share the screen. I'll share the screen. And I think you all can see the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. So today we are going to discuss about the acceptance. So when we talk about the acceptance means this is one of the essential element that will cover under the contract. Why? Because if someone is offering you, if you accept it, then only it is like mutual parties accepting it or working on that one. So if you look at your acceptance of an offer, normally acceptance is done when some other party is offering you. If you look at here, acceptance to offer is what? A lighted match to a train of a gunpowder. Means to get or to come into a contract, or to call it as a contract, an offer should come, then acceptance will be given. This is Anson's law of contract. So acceptance to an offer, what a lighted match is to train it of gunpowder, means acceptance can be given only by the person to whom the offer has been made, and offeree becomes accepted when he accepts the offer. Offeree will become the acceptor when he accepts the offer which is given by the offerer. So how it is defined? Acceptance is defined, if you look at here, a manifestation of willingness to be bound by the terms of an offer made in a manner invited or required by the offer. Or an acceptance of an offer must be absolute and unconditional. There should not be any conditions whenever an offer is made. Because if you are having any conditions, then it is not called as an offer. It will be called as an offer only it is of no conditions. Conditions are not existing. And in order for the acceptance to be effective, of all the terms of the offer must be accepted without change or condition. For example, if anyone is like A party is giving an offer to B, so whenever offer is given, it should be accepted as it is. If you are making any changes, then it's not called as an accepted, and it is not, whatever the acceptance is given, it will be not come into the consideration of contract. Why? Because whatever the offer has been given by the offeree, that should be as it is, it should be accepted. So if you look at your section 2, subsection B of Indian Contract Act 1872 defines when a person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, and the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal when accepted becomes a promise. So here, according to Contract Act 1872, acceptance means when a person, for example, A is making a proposal to B. So what is the other party has to do? The proposal, whatever is said, that has to be accepted. So whenever a proposal is accepted, then it becomes a promise. Now, acceptance results in the formation of a contract. So As I said, we have 10 elements which will define it as a contract. So under that elements, the first one we have discussed earlier, that is offer, and the next one is acceptance. So this is one of the essential element of contract. Without this, there is no existence of contract. So if you look at here, acceptance results in the formation of a contract. Both parties are bound and neither can withdraw from the bargain without incurring liability to the other. Ordinarily, acceptance must be expressed or communicated by the offeree to the offerer in order to manifest the mutual assent. So whenever acceptance we are giving, that has to be communicated and it should be in express form. Okay, I am ready to accept your offer. I'm ready to join this contract, or I'm ready to enter into the contract with you. That means I have to tell my acceptance that I want to join you either by expressing or by communicating. The manner in which acceptance is to be communicated may be specified in the offer, in which case that becomes the exclusive means of acceptance. So what is happening? Whenever you are giving your acceptance, that has to be communicated, and it should be communicated as it is what has been offered by the offeree, and in which case that becomes the exclusive means of acceptance. If you are not changing any changes to that offer, then it is called as an acceptance. But if the offer prescribes no means, any reasonable and usual mode may be adopted. So if there is nothing is prescribed again that, then as usual it will be adopted. Now, silence not ordinarily acceptance. So here what is silence not ordinarily acceptance means? Since acceptance must be communicated. See, if I receive some offer from a person, I have to say whether I'm accepting it or not. So how will that a person will know? Until and unless I say something, it is not taken whether I'm accepted it or not. So what I have to do? Okay, I'm ready to enter the contract with you. Then I have to communicate. I have to tell him. So ordinarily, silence cannot constitute an acceptance to enter into a bilateral contract. Mirror or mirror image rule. So before going to the mirror image rule, actually to call it as a valid acceptance, we have different points. That is, acceptance must be absolute and unconditional. Acceptance should be expressed in usual manner as per mode prescribed, or acceptance should be communicated. This is what all points we are discussing. Acceptance should be communicated to the offerer. Acceptance must be given before the offer lapses. See, for example, A has given some offer to the B that you should purchase the house before 15th of October. 15th of October, if A says that, then what B has to give his acceptance? He has to give his acceptance before that 15th October. If he's not giving before that date, or at least beyond that date, the contract lapses or that offer lapses. After that, if you accept it also, it will be not taken into consideration. So after one date, whatever the date fixed by the offeree, that has to be obeyed or abide by the offerer. Then only, and if it is not giving his acceptance before that date, then it is not considered as an acceptance, and that cannot be revoked also. Okay, so this is acceptance must be given before the offer lapses. And even we have acceptance cannot be implied from silence. See, no contract is formed if the offeree remains silent and does nothing to show that he has accepted the offer. Means, for example, if you have given an offer, A has given offer to the B that to purchase the house, but B did not say anything. What does it mean? Did he accept it? No, it is not accept. Silence does not mean. Normally we say खामोशी का मतलब acceptance we say in Hindi, and maunam ardangikaram we will tell in Telugu. Means, what do you mean? We say that if you're not giving any reply to that, we think that it's an assumption that you have accepted it. You want it. You want to accept it. That's the meaning we take normally into. That is our thought process, what we think, if silence, if they are not giving any response, we think if they have accepted. But in contract, if the other party is not responding to your offer, then it is not, doesn't mean that they have accepted. That's a wrong thing. Okay. And next one, if you look at your mirror image rule, means at common law, an acceptance which added qualifications or conditions, or which in any way varied from the terms of the original offer, was treated as a rejection and counter offer. So this was true no matter how the trivial the qualification or condition. Means what is actually it is telling? Qualifications or conditions, or which any way varied from the terms of the original offer. If anything is slight change or diversion from the original offer, whatever it is given, and if you have treated it as rejected and counter offer is given, then it is not considered as a contract. And it means whenever you have just made any slight change, it is not the contract what you have come together to make a contract. So that's totally, it will be invalid thing. And this was known as the mirror image rule. The underlying rationale is that the making of counter offer communicates to the offerer that the offeree does not wish to accept the offer. So this rule is called a mirror image rule. Means according to that, the counter offer, for example, one offer has been given which you have not accepted, you have rejected. So again, counter offering, okay, if you're not accepting, come on, I'll add some more things to that and I'll give offer. That is also not accepted. Okay. So that is called mirror image rule. Acceptance must be absolute. So whenever we say that is the essential element, the one of the factor which will tell about acceptance is acceptance must be absolute. In order to convert a proposal into a promise, the acceptance must be absolute and unqualified, and be expressed in some usual and reasonable manner, unless the proposal prescribed the manner in which it is to be accepted. So whenever you are making an proposal for promise or for acceptance, it should be absolute and should be expressed in some usual form, and reasonable logic manner should be there. And proposal, whatever they are prescribed, the manner in which it is accepted, that should be mentioned. And if the proposal prescribes a manner in which it is to be accepted and the acceptance is not made in such a manner, the proposer may, within a reasonable time after the acceptance is communicated to him, insist that his proposal should be accepted in the prescribed manner and not otherwise. But if he fails to do so, he accepts the acceptance. Means what does it say? That whatever the offer that has been given by the offerer, offering, within a reasonable time, if they are accepting it, and that acceptance has to be communicated to him, and it insists that whatever the proposal that has been accepted in the prescribed manner and not otherwise. And if he is failing, then he will accept the acceptance. Manner of acceptance, how they are going to accept it. We have traditional approach and we have acceptance by performance. So what is traditional approach? Traditionally, the nature of the contract dictated whether the offer could be accepted by written promise or by actual promise of the promised act. So according to traditional approach, acceptance, whatever is there, the contract they have offer has been given. Is it the actual promise that has been given or actual performance, whichever is there? See, promise is different and performance is different. Promise is what? For example, you can cut 5 trees is your promise. But performance is what? You couldn't able to even cut 1 tree. Means your promise is different and performance is different. Both are things are totally different perspectives and different things which will come across in the traditional approach. And acceptance by performance. It's under that we talk about the unilateral contracts. In a unilateral contract, the offer empowers the offeree to only accept by complete performance of the promise, or the offeree's failure to perform does not constitute a breach, since no contract is formed until the offeree renders full performance. Means what is happening under unilateral contract, the offer empowers the offeree to only accept by complete performance of the promise. Means if the offeree failed to perform, means what? The contract will not breach, breach since no contract is formed, and until they have to perform the contract for whatever they have entered into that particular contract. Yesterday we have discussed types like unilateral contracts and bilateral contracts. Unilateral contracts means in the contracts where only one of the parties will be fulfilling all the formalities of that particular contract. Acceptance by promise, by written promise, or bilateral contracts. So here acceptance by written promise means we have bilateral contract. Bilateral contract means what? Where both the parties will be fulfilling the performance of the contract, and both parties are ready to perform the contract is called bilateral contracts. So in a bilateral contract, the offer empowers the offeree to only accept by written promise. Means in earlier unilateral contract, only one of the party will be fulfilling the contract. In bilateral contracts, both the parties has to fulfill the promise, or they have to accept and whatever the acceptance they have given, that has to be written promise has to be done. And bilateral contracts are formed upon the giving of the promise to perform an obligation in future, and failure to fulfill such promise results in breach. Obviously, see, first of all, bilateral contract means both the parties has to empower, that is offerer and offeree, both has to accept the promises, and the both has to perform the promise which has been made while entering into the contract. And if anyone is failing, what is happening? There is a breach of contract. Breach means they are breaking the promise whichever as they have done. So when there is a breach of contract, that results in the breach of total contract. That means the contract gets cancelled. If any of the party is not fulfilling the promise of that particular contract, then the contract gets cancelled. Next one we have is modern approach. Under the modern approach, an offer invites acceptance by any means reasonable under the circumstances, unless otherwise indicated by language or circumstances. So what is more? That was, these are all our traditional approaches: unilateral, bilateral. So now we talk about the modern approach. When we talk about the modern approach, under the modern approach, an offer invites acceptance by any means reasonable under the circumstances, unless otherwise indicated by language or circumstances. So in the modern approach, offer will invite acceptance by any mode of reasonable under any circumstances, unless it is indicated by any language or circumstances. So let us see what are the modern approaches that are covered. So this approach reflects the fact that many offers do not specify whether acceptance is to be by full performance or promise. A contract may be formed even if an offer clearly indicates that acceptance is to be by promise. If and the offeree begins to perform in lieu of making the required promise, and the offerer learns of the commencement of performance and acquiesces to such manner of acceptance. Means this approach says that the fact that many offers do not specify whether acceptance is to be done full promise or full performance or only is promise. So that has to be very clear, and contract may be even formed clearly which should indicate that acceptance is made. What are the promise they have made? They are going to perform it from the beginning to the end. So that all has to available, and they have to clearly mention in the modern approach. So acts inconsistent with the offerer's ownership or receipt of benefits. And here there is a common law which holds that one who receives goods with knowledge or reason to know that they are being offered for a price is bound by the terms of the offer, or if exercise dominion or control over such goods, or engages in any other act inconsistent with offer's ownership, this all comes under the acceptance. And if the act wrongs the offerer, it is deemed as a valid acceptance only if ratified by the offerer. So if any act that goes wrongs, which is given by the offerer, it is deemed as a valid acceptance and only if they're ratified by the offerer. And similarly, one who receives benefits from services that he knows or has reason to know are being offered with the expectation of compensation, and where he has a reasonable opportunity to reject them, and liable for the reasonable value or stated value of such services. And acceptance by silence. So acceptance means just now I said no contract is formed if the offeree remains silent and does nothing to show that he has accepted the offer. So that's what I said. If anyone has given any offer to me, I have to accept it. Yes. If I am silent, it does not mean that it is accepted. So silence may not constitute an acceptance except where, based on prior dealings between the parties, it is reasonable that the offer should notify the offerer if he does not intend to accept, or where the offerer has stated or given the offeree reason to understand that assent may be manifested by silence or inaction, and the offeree in remaining silent and inactive intends to accept the offer. So if you are silent does not mean that you are accepted or you are happy with whatever the contract you are getting to join. So it is not accepted and it is not considered as one of the essential elements of contract. Next, medium of acceptance. So unless the offerer indicates otherwise, the offeree may use any medium that is reasonable under the circumstances, or in non-goods contracts, the same medium as was used to communicate the offer or any other medium customary in similar transactions at the time and place the offer is received. So medium of acceptance is also much more important. See what I said, if you call it as if you have accepting your acceptance, that has to be communicated. Communication. So it should be communication should be there, and that whatever the medium you are selecting, the telephonic or written form or letter way, in what way you are sending that letter, or in what is the way you are giving your acceptance. Are you giving oral? Are you giving your acceptance with written form? That whatever the medium you are selecting, that has to be the appropriate one, and that has to be done. So that's the reason. If you can just look at here, unless the offerer indicates otherwise, the offeree may use any medium that is reasonable under the circumstances, or in non-good contracts, the same medium was used to communicate the offer or any other medium customary in similar transactions at the time and place the offer is received. Notice of acceptance. So whenever you are giving acceptance, the notice has to be issued. That is, the offer is entitled to notice of the acceptance. Thus, even if the offeree effectively accepts an offer and a contract is formed, failure by the offeree to notify the offerer of the acceptance within a reasonable time may preclude the offerer from enforcing the contract. So whenever the offerer is entitled to notice of acceptance, that he should receive that, yes, that party has accepted. So notice of acceptance has to be given. The offerer is entitled to notice of the acceptance. Thus, even if the offeree effectively accepts an offer and a contract is formed, failure by the offeree to notify the offerer of the acceptance within a reasonable time may preclude the offerer from enforcing the contract. Notice of acceptance by performance. So if you look at here, notice of acceptance by performance. Under common law, where an offer invites acceptance by performance, no notice is required. So whenever, according to law, whenever you are giving offer, acceptance by performance, and for this acceptance, we don't require any notice, first of all. Unless the offerer is asking for your notice. For example, A has given offer to B, And if B has not A has not mentioned anything with regard to the performance that you have to send me the notice. If nothing has been mentioned, it doesn't mean that you should give any notice. If nothing is mentioned, if you have given just acceptance, it's fair enough. But he's clearly mentioning that whenever he's giving offer, you give your acceptance by giving notice to me. In that situation, the notice has to be given to the offerer. However, if the offeree has reason to know that the offerer has no adequate means of learning of the performance with reasonable promptness and certainty, the offerer's contractual duty will be discharged unless the offeree exercises reasonable diligence to notify the offerer of acceptance, or the offerer learns of the performance within a reasonable time, or the offer indicates that notification of the acceptance is not necessary. So these are the contractual duties which has to be discharged whenever they are asking about the notice. So whenever specifically the offeree is asking about the notice, in that situation you have to mention all these things in that notice. When an acceptance becomes effective. So when the acceptance will become effective, so acceptance will become effective according to the following rules. The offer may specify when the acceptance will be effective. Offerer will be specify about the acceptance, that at that time it will be effective, and absent such specification, an acceptance is effective when sent, if sent by reasonable means, example an authorized medium with proper postage and correct address. So whenever you are sending your acceptance, that has to be in some model and some pro forma they have to follow, and that pro forma has to be authorized medium, either it be through the postage or through proper correct address. That all has to be mentioned to send our acceptance. If an acceptance is sent by means that are not appropriate or reasonable under the circumstances, or if it is improperly dispatched, the acceptance will be effective upon receipt. So, for example, you have sent your acceptance through the post or through courier or something. So, and it is dispatched somewhere and after some date. So that will be not considered. For example, they have mentioned the date that you have to give your acceptance by 15th October, and whatever the letter you have posted or the letter you have sent, if it has reached on 17th of October, in that situation and in that case, that acceptance will not be accepted. Why? Because when you receive that receipt, from that date only it will be considered. So though we have sent by 5th of October, but it is reached on 17th of October, still it is not accepted. Now, however, if the acceptance is reasonably but improperly dispatched, it will still be deemed effective when sent if it is received within the time in which a properly dispatched acceptance would have been received. Means you have dispatched improperly, no proper address, something has missed. But whatever the acceptance you have sent, that has been received. What I say, the due date is 15th October. But if I'm receiving that later, although it is not in a proper way, not properly mentioned, not properly dispatched, or not properly arranged, but still it has received on 10th of October, I will accept your acceptance. Why? Because it has reached before the due date. Partial acceptance. Partial acceptance must be of the whole of the offer. So acceptance will not be partial, it will be full acceptance only. See, it will be not like that I give an offer to A that you construct my house, and A says that no, I will not construct the whole house. I will accept your offer only to build the basement. So that is not a contract. Yes. So partial acceptance is not accepted. Cannot accept a part which is favorable and reject the remaining. So that is not actually. If I ask you, please construct my house, you have to construct total house, then only you accept it. If you don't want to construct, you say no, you won't accept it. But instead of doing either accept or reject, what is it? You have accepted, but accepted what? You will construct only the basement of the house, which is not acceptable by me. So that is not possible when you partial acceptance. And it is treated as counter offer unless the offerer agrees for the qualified acceptance. So whatever the acceptance you have given, the offerer has to agree whatever the acceptance you have given, then only the contract will come into an existence. And inquiry into the terms of the proposal, not a counter proposal. So always proposal should be the first one itself. If you're issuing something else after that and you're making some slight changes to that, then counter proposal is not accepted. And where all the proposed terms are accepted and the counter proposal related only to technical details of the proposal, the acceptance is binding. So here, what are the proposed terms are accepted and the counter proposal is related only to the technical details of the proposal, and the acceptance is binding. Means they are coming together on the base of all this technical details and the proposal that are related to our the offer. And acceptance by a person to whom the proposal was not addressed is no acceptance. Means, for example, acceptance by person to whom the proposal was not addressed. For example, I said I given offer to B. So B has to give acceptance to whom? B has to give acceptance to A only, but instead B has given acceptance to C, which is not accepted by A. Why? Because B has to give their acceptance of the whatever the offer or the proposal given by the A, that has to acceptance B has to give to the A only. But instead, what B has did given acceptance to C, which is not acceptable. When the contract is concluded, section 4, communication when complete. So communication of acceptance is complete and against the proposer, and when it is put in a course of transmission to him, so as to be out of the power of the acceptor as against the acceptor. So when it comes to the knowledge of the proposer, so whenever to complete our acceptance, the acceptance has to be given against the total proposal that is given by the offerer, and it is to be in the course of transmission has to be given, and what are the power of the acceptor is given, and it should not be anything against the acceptor, and it comes to the knowledge of the proposer only. So there is a case, that is Adams versus Linsell rule. According to the defendant was wool dealers sent a letter to plaintiffs wool manufacturers offering to sell them fleeces upon receipt of their acceptance in the course of post. So what the defendants are the wool dealers. So what they did, they mailed their offer to sell on the 2nd September 18th. So what defendant companies did, they have sent a mail that they want to sell their wool when they have to want to sell on 2nd September 1817. And the defendant letter was misdirected and did not reach the plaintiffs until 7 p.m. Friday, the 5th of September. So actually, defendants have sent the mail to the plaintiffs, but when they are selling on 2nd of September, but the plaintiffs has not received the letter till Friday 5th. They were selling on 2nd, but until 5th of that month, they haven't received till 7 p.m. That night, plaintiffs accepted defendant's offer and mailed it directly back in a timely manner. So actually, when they were selling on 2nd. Yes, you can just look at here. Made their offer to sell on the 2nd of September and they received on 5th September. So what they did after that, they accepted and sent back to the defendant. It was received by defendant on 9th they received, but they expected to receive it on 7th, and in the meanwhile had offered and sold their will to another person. So what they did, it is received late, so they have already sold that wool to some other person. So plaintiff brought suit for the losses they sustained by not receiving the fleeces. So what happened? Plaintiff people, they have just filed a case against that. The question was whether a valid contract had been formed prior to the wool being sold, or the court concluded that it had as soon as the acceptance letter was posted, and the defendant had therefore breached the contract by selling the wool to a third party. So what happened actually here, if you look at here, there was no mistake on the part of plaintiff, because as soon as they received, immediately they posted back and they received immediately on the 9th itself. But the company said Whatever you have sold, you have breached the contract, because as soon as they receive, they have forwarded you. The justification often given for the postal rule is if an offerer decides to conduct negotiations by post, they should accept the risk of delay. They can avoid this by stating in the offer letter a contract will only be formed once they receive an acceptance, so excluding the postal rule. So they have to clearly mention what they have to mention, because that was delayed because of postal people. So they have to mention it before giving their offer only. That if it is because of they have to clearly mention if it's inclusion of postal rule, or yeah, they have to say postal delay will also be considered because they have received or they may receive late. So everything has to be clearly mentioned whether they are taking into consideration postal rule or not in the offer whenever they are giving offer to the other party. In 1955, the court decided the postal rule would not apply for telex, which was instantaneous, and acceptance would be on the basis of receipt by the offerer. Means what it is actually. So if you look at here, in 1955, the court decided the postal rule will not apply. For whom it will not apply? It will not apply for a telex. And acceptance would be on the basis of receipt by the offerer. And this decision was followed in 1983, but the courts recognized a telex may not reach the recipient immediately. For example, if the message is received out of hours, law will be force concluded no universal rule can cover all such cases. They must be resolved by reference to the intention of the parties and sound business practice, and in some cases by judgment where the risk should lie. So everything should be taken into consideration and taken into point, and then they have to take the decision. There is no hard and fast rule for each and everything. It depends upon the mental whatever they are thinking about that, and what is their intention behind that delay, and what is their intention behind that offering. That all has to be taken into consideration, and they have to even tell that there is a risk which has to be bear by the both the parties. Yes, ma, any doubt? Yes. So everything has to be taken into consideration whenever. So whenever you are entering into an offer and giving an offer to the employees or giving offer to other party, so you have to keep in the mind that what is your actual criteria or what is your intention behind that. And you always knows that a business practice will have risk, so that all has to be taken whenever there any judgment is given or passed. And there is another case which is Thomas versus BP Solicitors. Concluded acceptance by email should be treated in the same way as others forms of instantaneous communication. The court recognized the difficulty that can rise, and Lord Wilberforce comments when determining such cases. So whenever you have taken the judgment or whenever you want to quote the cases, you have to just go through back about all the court cases, and then only you have to go for the of acceptance and how it has to be communicated. That all has we have discussed now. So now we'll move to the next topic, that is consideration.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Can you explain short form, ma'am? Because
What?
Syllabus is too lengthy, ma'am.
Didn't understand, ma?
In 10th, ma'am, can you explain short forms? It's too lengthy. 1 hour, only one
Yeah,
point.
and I think that is a full-fledged answer, ma. It's for 10 or 15 marks it is. Because each point, whatever the 10 essential elements are there, na, the 10
Acha.
essential elements, if you just look at your unit 2.
I think classes are left only 7, na, ma'am.
Okay,
So
okay.
there is 5
Okay,
blocks
okay.
and
Is
14
it?
units.
Yeah, yeah.
Syllabus is no.
Yeah, yeah. I request you, what's your name, dear?
Reshma.
Reshma, I think I have shared my contact number to you yesterday. Am I right? Have
No,
you
ma'am.
No, I have.
I think in group, ma'am.
You are there in the group?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I there in that group?
Don't know, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
No, ma'am.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll just forward my name, number. So please
Okay.
take this and you just add me so that I'll you just share the syllabus or whatever means the topics you're having. You just take the PDF or some fixed and share it to me. I'll just confine because normally as a faculty we will go in depth for each and every topic. Normally whatever the 10 essential elements are there now, that was the essential elements. If you look at your syllabus, unit 2, which where it talks about the essential element, the total unit 2 is only essential elements. If you look at there, block 1 unit 2 means their own essential elements means first one answer means to call it as a contract we have 10 essential elements. So now each and every element again we discuss. Okay, if you want to briefing only I will brief it. It's okay. It's okay.
No,
Don't
ma'am.
worry. Yes.
This is important, ma'am. Essential context.
Yeah, all actually that is the main you can just think about it. I think 3 units. 3 units. If you look at the block 1,
Yes,
block
ma'am.
2,
2,
even block 3
block
also.
5.
Block 3
Yes, ma'am.
also. Yes.
Yes,
These
ma'am.
3 blocks, please Syed, don't do anything. So these 3 blocks are talks about the contract. So first you should understand what is contract, what are its essential elements. And actually normally we think that okay, to call it a contract we need 10 essential elements. What are those? Offer should be there, means someone should offer, koi bolna ki kharido this, purchase it or accept it, that is called offer. So in order to
तो
call
मैम
offer also,
ये 15 मार्क्स में आएगा मैम ये आंसर एसेंशियल ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स और इसमें से अगर अलग-अलग है एक्सेप्टेंस
yeah,
ऑफर्स ये भी
that's what listen, essential elements of contract is the actual answer that will be coming for the exam. And another will be anything they may ask like this: what is define offer and explain its legal rules, or define acceptance, explain its legal rules, define consideration, explain its legal, like that they may ask anything. These 3 are damn sure: offer, acceptance and consideration. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, if possible just please add me in that group, no?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, as you have said, because I want your requirement, I want to fulfill your requirement only.
Yes,
so from next class onwards I'll just see to it that I will confine the topic and I'll precise it. Okay.
और one more question, ma'am. ये इसमें sections लिखना जरूरी रहता मैम आंसर्स के साथ और एग्जांपल्स भी मैम.
Case studies are mandatory, you have to mention.
हाँ लिखना मैम वो भी.
लिखे तो full fledged marks आता, and you have to mention the sections because our subject is a law, mercantile law we are calling.
Yes,
means you have to mention the each and every section.
Yes, ma'am. Actually I am done block 1. That's why only I am questioning you some bit.
What?
That kind of, ma'am.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Because if I go like this also, I think within 7 days I can complete only block 1. That's it. Okay, then.
तो सब में examples देना जरूरी है मैम केस का.
Case studies are mandatory. You have to mention, because orally if I say something that is not valid. So normally we'll see also the cases, whatever they give the judgment in the courts, they will quote previous cases which has already been done. Basing on that only they will give judgment. So whatever the point we are discussing, that point is justified with the help of case studies that are been mentioned.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, I think we are left with only 5 minutes of time. So I'll just wind up today, and tomorrow
Yes, ma'am.
onwards, I'll just see to it that I'll just precise it and see to it that you will get the total syllabus. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, and if possible, just you add my number in that so that
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You give me number.
yeah, I just posted in chat box. Okay. So I've just posted you, and remaining will continue tomorrow. Okay. Thank you all. You can all leave the class.